In the 30s, they were working hard to find a cure for polio. Now they're fighting prematurity and birth defects. Find out how you can help. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Myrtle Beach Herald. We're focused on Horry County's Walk America for the March of Dimes coming up on Saturday, April 30th. And we're visiting with Nick Sherfesee, the chairman of the board for the Horry County chapter of the March of Dimes. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning. How are you?
Thanks so much for coming in.
Glad to be here.
We are getting juiced a little more than 3 weeks from tomorrow.
It will be 3 weeks from tomorrow. It'll be April the 30th at 10 o'clock is we're going to start walking.
It's going to be a big day. You know, Dennis was with us last Friday, Nick. We're getting a series of folks every week now leading up to the walk. And, of course, it was so exciting to think through those aspects that he laid out. Y'all are walking 6 miles this year.
Well, it's about 4 miles less than we did last year. It'll be a nice stroll on the beach on April the 30th, and hopefully it'll be a beautiful day.
Absolutely. And, of course, I think he said last week registration kicks off at 9, a ton going on during the day, and it's just going to be a thrilling day all around.
It's always a fun thing, and for the viewers out there, if you've never been to a Walk America walkathon, you need to go. It's a huge, huge community party and celebration, and it's to celebrate all the hard work that the volunteers went through to raise money to help make sure that no baby's born too small, too soon, or too sick. And we've had a lot of success with it, and had a wonderful success last year, and we're sure that this year will even be bigger and better. So we ask them all to come out and join us. It'll be fun. Absolutely.
Nick, real quick, if a viewer needs to get out of the house right now, what's the best number for someone to call to learn more about the March of Dimes or about Saturday the 30th walk?
Well, it's real easy. All they need to do is call 488-DIME, D-I-M-E, 488-3463.
Okay, great. And, of course, for our viewers in the PD or southeastern North Carolina, they can easily call that same number, dialing 843.
843, right.
And, of course, the division there in Conway, Joe and Colleen are overseeing walks in Dillon and Marlboro, all over our viewing area.
That's right. Dillon, Marlboro, Lake City, all over. Georgetown.
Right.
So those women work very, very hard, and they travel an awful lot.
I think Joe said that the Marion County Walk America last year exceeded goals well beyond dreams, and of course one of the thrilling aspects was the recognition in Columbia this past year's state convention for the Marion County Walk.
The Marion County Walk was one of the top walks in the state on a percentage-wise basis. Right. Myrtle Beach was one of the top walks in the state also, and one thing that we didn't realize and didn't know was going to happen at that, and Joe's going to kill me for saying this, but Joe was recognized. Joe Fisher, our executive director right here in the PD, was named the March of Dime Employee of the Year.
You're kidding. I didn't know that.
Last year. And that was back in November at the State Volunteers Conference.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And well-deserved. Golly, she's great.
Joe was the Herald Subscriber Club profile last week, and of course it was so exciting learning aspects of her life that I hadn't been aware of. Her travels all over. She and Sterling had traveled both with Kraft and with other groups. Her convention business experience there in Niagara Falls, of course even in Myrtle Beach, and now to have been back in the area for as long as she has and making such a difference every day in the lives of young mothers and parents.
Well, she's just an eloquent spokesperson for the March of Dimes. I mean, and she's so much fun, and she's so emotional, and everybody understands and know her, how sincere she is about this cause. She's wonderful.
Absolutely. She and Colleen make a dynamic duo.
They really do.
Yeah.
Should we call them Robin and Batman?
You know, I wonder who would be Robin and who would be Batman.
I don't know.
Yeah. Colleen was very on point last year. I know Dennis.
The dynamic duo.
Yeah, that's right. That would be Dennis and Colleen last year, and now Dennis and Joe this year. They're
right.
All three of them, of course, focused. And, of course, you, Nick, you've served this role not only as chairman of the Horry County chapter, but the founding chairman of the board and helping organize the group. Share with the viewers exactly how boards are set up, why they were set up, and what's the significance of an Horry chapter kicking off
Well, the board of directors and the purpose for it being was to make sure that we had broad-based community support, and that we have identified folks that understand the March of Dimes mission and support it personally. These are business and community leaders that are on the board, and we are very glad to have all of them on there. We have been very, very fortunate to have the business and community leaders that we do on the board. And you're one of them.
Oh, yeah, I know. I wish I could attend more meetings, Nick, but of course the exciting aspect is to recognize folks from all over, as you say, all over, geographically the largest county in the state.
Right.
Folks coming in from all over to attend meetings.
We have folks on the board from Loris, and from Aner, and from Conway, and of course all up and down the Strand.
And it is vital, of course, throughout the PD division, oftentimes you don't see the county recognizing individual boards of directors, even though the importance is clearly there, by making sure you've constantly got folks involved in walks and constantly have folks involved in chef's auctions and real estate breakfast and so many of the other activities, Ride for Babies. It's amazing the year-round level of exposure that the March of Dimes or other charitable groups in the area are working towards.
Well, the folks over there at March of Dimes tease me and they say, well, really your part-time job or your volunteer job is with Wachovia Bank. You're really a March of Dimes employee. There is so much going on, and it happens all year long, and it's but for a great cause.
Nick, real quick about yourself. Were you originally from the area?
No, I'm originally from around Philadelphia.
That's right. That's right. What brought you to the area?
I went to the Citadel in 1961, and I decided I'd just kind of hang around.
Oh, come on, Nick. Not 61. You mean 71 or 81?
No, 61.
1961?
Yeah.
You were graduated in 65?
I graduated in 65.
There. That at least picks up a couple of years. You spent the rest of your life in South Carolina?
No, I traveled around. I actually joined a international banking firm out of London called Barclays Bank, and I traveled all over the Southeast and out into Colorado. And but I had sand in my shoes, and I had to get back to the East Coast, and in particular South Carolina. It took me a few years to do that, but I resettled here in 1993 on the Grand Strand.
Originally with First Union and now with Wachovia, I believe, is their community banker?
I am the community banker for Horry and Georgetown County. Wow,
of course. So they have community bankers throughout the country or throughout all the branches?
They have them throughout the country in specialized markets that are unique. Markets like Atlanta or Philadelphia or Miami, large metropolitan markets do not act and look like Myrtle Beach or Florence or Columbia even. So they have the community bankers in those communities, and we are given the autonomy to act and perform much as our community bank neighbors right up the street, which is great. And just a little plug for Wachovia of Myrtle Beach. Last year, in 2004, Wachovia was the #1 market in the community bank for all of Wachovia in the entire footprint.
You're kidding.
No.
I mean, that's not size specific. You're talking about the entire thing.
The entire thing.
Wow.
#1 performer in the company.
That is tremendous.
Doesn't that make you feel good about living in Myrtle Beach?
That makes you feel good. I mean, you got to be feeling fantastic, Nick.
Well, Dale Zeglin has done a great job over there.
Dale is. I've seen his I've seen his ads in the Sun News recently of local resident, market president, in that order. That was a very shrewd. And of course, I guess Dale's involved. Does he help oversee the Florence area as well, or no? That's
no,
John
just
Banks.
Myrtle Beach.
Right.
Just Myrtle Beach.
They've got a community banker like yourself in the PD.
Right.
Okay, great. And of course, it's exciting to see it. Of course, community banking is something you've had an involvement in for many years.
Right. I started working in community banks in 1981, and actually started several of them down in Florida, and joined up with First Union when they bought out my company in 1990. I've been with them ever since. Now it's called Wachovia.
I know, that's right. I think 1990 was a critical year, Nick. Isn't that the first year you got involved with the March of Dimes as well?
It was. First Union had and still does, as Wachovia, had a huge corporate emphasis on the March of Dimes. And we were encouraged, you know what I mean by that, so we were encouraged to participate. But I remembered as a youngster participating in the March of Dimes with my mom, going on the Mother's March and taking the little cards around and getting dimes and nickels put in them, and we had a very successful campaign in Gainesville, Florida, and that's when I started with the March of Dimes as a team leader.
As a real dedicated volunteer, not necessarily with the encouragement of your employer, but instead that you figured out, and this was really for you.
Oh, it really was. I mean, for 15 years, it's been a very, very big part of my life.
Mm-hmm. Dick, what is the March of Dimes all about? For viewers who may not be familiar with it, they hear that phrase, March of Dimes, but may not understand the significance of it.
Well, the history of it is, Greg, when the March of Dimes was founded by Franklin Delano Roosevelt back in the 30s, and it was during the Depression, and President Roosevelt had polio, and it was called infantile paralysis. And March of Dimes was formed. There was a group of volunteers who went out and actually collected dimes. They went door to door to collect dimes, and they were all sent into the White House to help find a cure for polio. Well, through March of Dimes research, Dr. Jonas Salk invented the vaccine that cured polio. And all of a sudden, the March of Dimes had this great core of dedicated volunteers and no cause. So, because they were successful, they actually worked themselves out of a job. Now they said, well, what do we do with this group? Do we disband, or we go and try to find something else? And they went ahead and started working on birth defects, and have also branched out into prematurity, and we're in the midst of our prematurity campaign right now.
A big 5-year campaign to focus on prematurity, which is,
right.
You know, Chris Saffels was with us 2 weeks ago today, of course, focused on his daughter's birth and the celebration of her birthday back in January 21st. Actually, Dennis was with us on that day, the day of Riley's birthday. You know, you think about so many aspects that he thinks about when he and his wife talk about I think he said prematurity, or a preterm birth is like earlier than 37 weeks, but very preterm is earlier than 32 weeks. And Riley was born at 29 weeks.
Right.
You know, the significance of that when you think through those aspects. Of course, when you talk about Jonas Salk, you talk about polio, those researchers, prior to finding the cure to polio, their big dream was, let's find a cure. And now that same dream is apparent
continuing on
in all the volunteers of let's find a cure to birth defects.
Well, when you see babies like Riley Saffels, and you could take your wedding ring and slide it all the way up her arm to her shoulder.
Right.
That's how tiny that child was. And it's a miracle that babies like that can even survive. But March of Dimes research has made it possible. But we still don't know why babies are being born too soon. As a matter of fact, the incidence of premature birth is growing. But 1 baby out of every 8 is born prematurely. And we don't know why. So we're putting a lot of time and effort to try to find out why.
Golly, Nick, you know, it seems like, because there are so many potential reasons. I think Carolyn Ewing was with us a couple weeks ago talking about some of those different potential reasons. She named things that you potentially wouldn't want to eat, like sprouts and a salad bar, that you want to stay away because of potential salmonella issues. And there's lots of things that, as you say, because we don't know why, they're trying to pinpoint something.
Right.
But again, if a viewer wanted to be a part of this, we're 3 weeks, tomorrow's 3 weeks from the walk. What could a viewer do today to get involved to help prepare for this year's Horry County Walk
There's
America?
a lot of things they can do. Number one, they can call 488-DIME and talk to our folks in the office there and get a walker card. They can go out to walkamerica.org
Right.
and sign up as a walker online. And they can even go ahead and email all of their friends and contacts and ask them to contribute to the March of Dimes. And that is a very effective way to raise a lot of money.
Yes.
And then on the 30th, show up and walk with us and celebrate your success. There's a lot to do. Also, if they just want to contribute, they can go to any Wachovia bank. They can go to many businesses all over the community and contribute, because we're all in the middle of our fundraising drives now.
Great. Of course,
buy baby booties,
buying the Beanie Babies, and they're all over.
candles.
That's right.
Candy.
One of the children in Loris recently, Kobe Williams, I think, was recognized statewide as the top youth fundraiser
He was.
in the state. And of course, you think, again, coming out of the PD division, one of the smallest divisions in the state, where the Horry County Walk had such a tremendous explosive growth last year, budgeting 100-some thousand and netting north of 200,000. Of course, the Loris Walk doing well, and the Marion Walk just through the roof. It is incredible to see this part of the state really having that kind of explosive growth.
Absolutely. He's doing very, very well. And going back to Kobe Williams, he was an ambassador baby also for the March of Dimes. He was born prematurely and had a lot of issues.
Share with the viewers the significance of ambassador babies, why they're used, what they do at a walk, and of course we didn't mention Luke Parrott, who is the other ambassador baby, and of course week after next, the 23rd, is the Loris Walk America. I think April 30th is the National Walk Day, which has big significance. But share with viewers why Riley Saffels and Luke Parrott and their families are stepping up to the plate this year.
An ambassador family is a family that has benefited from March of Dimes research and work. We can, through them, put a face on our cause. It's very easy to sit there and see someone like Riley and see the pictures of Riley when she was born and see her now, to know what has happened. But they are truly ambassadors for the March of Dimes. They're out discussing and talking about our mission, but they also, through that child, show people what can be done if they do help. And it makes a very, very powerful statement. And it's a big job for the parents as well as for the child. But they're with us all year long, and they'll be at all of our events, and we're just thrilled to have them. And it's just two wonderful families.
And they kick off the walk, is that correct?
Yes, sir. They'll be kicking off the walk.
Okay, let's break down the day of the walk. Of course, folks that arrive, they can arrive early. You and so many of the other volunteers will be there at 5, 6 in the morning, the day before, the day of. One great thing that Dennis pointed out last Friday that I didn't know, Nick, is that if you show up, you've got free parking in the Myrtle Beach Pavilion parking lot, which is tremendous.
Free parking if you get in there before 10 o'clock.
Right.
And also there's food and entertainment and fun, and it's like a huge big pep rally and party, Greg. It's just a wonderful time. Well, registration starts at 9, and then I believe the walk starts at 10.
Right.
And 5 miles down the beach and back, or 6 miles, whatever, and be back in time for lunch. And the Shriners will be cooking.
Great.
And they've done it every year. Bilo has donated the food, and the Shriners, they do all the cooking and all the hard work. So it's really great.
That is tremendous. Well, you know, of course, it's fascinating when you think about those aspects of a day like that. Rain or shine, folks will be coming from all over the county, and literally we can have folks from all over the PD or southeastern North Carolina, all over our viewing area, all over the country, can be in for this walk on April 30th if that's a good day for them. If it's not, they can still call the March of Dimes office, the PD division office. I think you said 843-488-3463.
Correct.
Or go to walkamerica.org to donate online.
Right.
But the important aspect is whatever day of the year, whatever day of the month, or whatever hour they come out to support, those donations, every dollar really makes a difference.
92 cents out of every dollar donated to the March of Dimes goes directly into March of Dimes operations. It's
92 cents. That is very slow.
I mean, that is one of the best performing charities in the world.
That's
92 cents of every dollar goes straight into research and things we need to continue to do to help save babies.
How are they able to do that, Nick? I mean, how are they able to cover those administrative costs?
You mentioned it earlier. We have 2 employees that cover this huge territory.
Right.
And then we have a very large group of dedicated volunteers like yourself and others that help.
What are some of the things during the year that volunteers could help out on? There's some other events for the Horry County chapter, if you're speaking specifically about the Horry County chapter, but for any of the chapters around the PD region or throughout our viewing area, what are some of the other events that volunteers could be a part of?
Well, the other events that we're going to do this year, Greg, is the chef's auction that will be taking place in the fall. And that is a great opportunity to go out and have a wonderful evening and raise money for the March of Dimes.
Right.
So that is a huge undertaking. If someone is interested in putting on a party, please call 488-DIME,
Okay.
because the Chef's Auction Committee will begin meeting immediately, very, very soon. And then after that, we'll have the annual real estate industry breakfast, and that also has been very successful in the last several years, and we also need people to help with that. But those are three big events: the walk, and the Star Chef's Auction, and then the real estate breakfast. We are not going to do the ride this year.
Is that right?
We will not do the ride this year.
Okay, the Ride for Babies.
The Ride for
Babies. Of course, there's a lot that goes into each of the events, but it's so important to focus on the ones, not that you don't do that best. I mean, not that the Ride for Babies hadn't been done very well. It's just oftentimes so many events are dependent on weather.
Right.
And you can put a heck of a lot into an event. And
actually, you're right. But we have continued to grow our other events. The walk last year set an all-time record. We're looking to do it again this year.
yes.
The Chef's Auction last year set an all-time record. We're looking to do it again this year. The real estate breakfast was very, very successful last year, and
Right.
we're planning one this year that's going to be a blockbuster. So I think it's going to be a very good year for the March of Dimes here in Horry County. And, you know, Greg, it makes me feel good to go to the National Volunteers Conference in Washington, and also go to the conference up in Columbia every year and make donations to causes that help save babies' lives in our own neighborhood. I mean, it really feels good with our hard-earned dollars that we work very hard to get all year long, to go and give it to a cause here in Horry County that is going to benefit and help save babies right here in our neighborhood.
Can you think of some of those examples? I mean, there are so many in the area. There's almost too many to name.
Well, you know, the closest NICU is in Florence, so
Right.
a lot of the money we raise does go to McLeod and McLeod affiliates up there that's going to work with the newborn babies.
Right. Have you visited the neonatal intensive care unit up there in Florence?
I have not visited that
Right.
one. I've been to other NICUs. I've been at Grady Memorial in Atlanta, and I've also been to MUSC.
That's probably a pretty powerful experience in itself, just visiting to remind you why you volunteer for the March of Dimes.
If you ever go to an NICU, then you'll understand why it's so important that you get involved in this organization.
Nick, you think about those research dollars and how oftentimes it's difficult to gauge where those research dollars are going. You talk about 92 cents of every dollar. I mean, many of those funds, as you say, are being spread out into hospitals or research institutions in North and South Carolina, as well as all over the country.
Right, right. As a matter of fact, there is a group in Greenville that is doing some very interesting DNA research that a lot of March of Dimes money has gone in there, and trying to find a cause for this very knotty problem. And one baby out of every 8, statewide and nationally, is born too soon, and usually too sick and too small. You know, so.
Nick, you all have an honorary chairman this year. Isn't that right? You all have an honorary chairman who's going to be real involved. Yeah, share with the viewers how you all picked this honorary chairman.
If you're a football fan, you're going to love it. David Bennett, the coach out at Coastal Carolina University, has very generously given his time, and he has assured us his players' time too, to be there at the walk and to be our honorary walk chair. But what a dynamic individual, and what energy he brings to the program, and he's just a great human being. So we're just honored and very, very pleased to have Dave on board with us this year.
And I believe when he spoke at the kickoff campaign over there at IMAX Theater, he talked about some early stage birth defects in the family, or issues that prematurity.
Right.
They really hit home to him and impact so many of the parents in the crowd.
Well, if you figure that one baby out of every 8 is born prematurely, that touches literally everybody. I mean, we either have someone in our family, or we know of someone that was born too soon, and just don't know why.
Nick, with all this time invested in the March of Dimes and so many other charitable groups in the community, do you have time for any hobbies? I mean, do you have time to spend time with your family? I mean, what do you do?
Well, my family supports me in these activities. As a matter of fact, I met my wife in a volunteer organization, so she's very, very supportive. And also, a lot of people have hobbies. My hobby is volunteering. So
wow, that's a tremendous commitment. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, Nick.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Nick Sherfesee coming up next. You heard Nick say it, 1 out of 8 babies are born more than 3 weeks early. That's a critical number. 1 out of every 8 are born early. Prematurity is a huge campaign. Even more alarming, as Nick talked about off camera before we got back, think about that aspect. Even more alarming, 27%. That's a 27% increase over 1980. That's a big deal. Why is it going up? We don't know. We need funds. The March of Dimes needs funds. They're fighting prematurity at every level. Everywhere you go, they're talking about prematurity because no one knows why. They didn't know why in the 30s, why polio was striking so many and what they could do about it. Dimes were sent to Washington, and what happened? Jonas Salk found a cure. So many other volunteers and researchers were focused on the same thing. We can be that way now. Every day, babies are fighting for their lives, and every day, volunteers and community activists like you have an opportunity to make a difference. Support the March of Dimes. Give them a call. If you can't get out on April 30th to the walk at the Myrtle Beach Pavilion, get out to Loris on April 23rd. If you can't get out to walk, call the March of Dimes at 843-488-3463. Let them know you want to be involved. If you don't have any money, make some phone calls for them. Call some people who do have money. Get them to commit. We need money to get into research to find out why babies are born, as Nick says, too early, too sick, and too tough to do it on their own. Give them a call.